to overcome them. From navigating conflicting schedules to aligning their visions, they share the secrets behind their unwavering partnership and the lessons learned along the way. Howard and Amanda are the proud owners of A&P Master A&P Master Images. Welcome, Howard and Amanda.
Yes, you have
Incredible.
Yakarious here with you, and Sparkle, and we have Howard and Amanda Potter from A&P Master Images.
That's
right?
correct.
Mm. How you guys doing this evening?
Doing all right.
Doing good. Doing good.
Good, okay. And how are you this evening,
I'm
Sparkle?
doing good, thank you.
Good.
How about yourself?
Pretty good. I'm excited. I was excited for this interview as like a kid in a candy store all day. I don't know what it is.
Me too.
So, what we're gonna do here? We're gonna start with our icebreaker.
Yes, let's start off with the icebreaker question.
Okay, is it me this time?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so the icebreaker question that I have is if you can, if you was gonna write a book, what would about your life story or your relationship story, what would the title be, and what would the plot be? Just a quick, and each one of you can answer, please.
That's a good question.
The title,
Take
yeah,
your
we
time.
fight. The title would have been, yeah, we fight. And I think the plot would be about how we are honest and open and transparent with how we actually do get through days. You know, we get up together, we go to work together, we come home together, we're together all the time. And I think that the biggest myth is that people think that, you know, we've just got it all figured out. And I think we just try and figure it out every day. So I think I would title my book, Yeah, We Fight.
Interesting. Okay.
So for me, normally my saying on the back of my hoodies is it's not luck, it's hard work. But in this case, I would say it's all luck. And then the plot would be finding my wife. And I say that because that's the only luck I've ever had in life is finding my wife and how she's groomed me to be a better person, even though I struggle every day to reach that next level.
I like that.
Okay. How about you, Miss Funk?
If I had to pick a title of my book right now, it would be You Are Worthy of Wealth. And wealth meaning health means wealth. So I'm really striving now to maintain a healthy lifestyle. So I think my book would be called, I guess a biography would be You Are Worthy of Wealth.
And
what about you?
How about the plot?
The plot would be somebody actually eating healthy for the rest of their days. Like I would actually, probably show people how to eat healthy, maybe even garden or recipes. I'm not sure. That's what I'm going through right now. So that would be the title of my book.
So I think the title of my book would be Coping. Just in general, and the plot would just be about the ups and downs of my life as well as relationships. The relationships I find myself in and that I'm in, the ups and downs. Because that's what helps me grow. The ups and downs, especially the downs, getting through the test. So that's it for me. Okay.
That's the icebreaker.
That's the icebreaker. So how did you guys meet? I mean, how did you?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
So I want to say that I met A&P Master Images before I met Howard or Amanda.
Okay.
And I could tell you how. So I was in my, I think, freshman year at MBCC 2015. And I had a tall professor that wore glasses. I can't remember his name. Maybe Howard, you can help me.
Oh, I think it was
Mr.
Eisenberg.
Mr. Eisenberg. He was like raving and talking so proudly about his past student, and he always took us each semester I was a part of I think the digital media club, and I was also taking one of his classes.
Okay.
And as a field trip, he would take the class to A&P Master Images. So I was in that club for 2 semesters. Never made it to A&P because I was a mother. I still have my small children. I couldn't make it at the times that it was scheduled for. But like I heard about you guys 2 years before. So when I finally met Howard, I was like, oh, did you notice? He said, yeah, he takes us. So that's how I met A&P Master Images. I guess the business proceeded. He was really proud about students who graduated and became successful in the region, stayed in the region, was locally grown, locally owned business. He would take his students to come see, so it could kind of inspire us to be independent, just like Howard and Amanda.
So how did you meet Howard?
How did I meet Howard?
Right, in person. When did that happen?
I'm thinking that it was when he was running for the school board. I think that's when it was. Because you were out more. I know the Midtown Utica Community Center had a forum for the candidates. And you came, and first of all, my mind was blown about how intelligent you were, how descriptive you were about the budget. All of that stuff sounded like ABC 1, 2, 3 to me. But that's the time that I first met Howard. I think I met Amanda along with the trail of the campaign trail. That's why I was able to see her more actively. Yeah, it seems like someone's there.
Okay. And as for me, I met Howard through going to an event with Sparkle, because she was interested in the school board as well as when she ran. And I'm not sure what course that was that I met Howard, but so I have this shirt on right here. I had to pull it out. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see it.
Yeah, I see it.
This is a design of A&P Masters X-Cant. It was not only a design, he gave me the logo and he gave me some shirts and he made a banner for us as a donation. When I called myself up and running 2 or 3 years ago, we're still trying to find our niche, by the way. But anyway, this is what we're doing right now. And so how I met him is we approached him. Actually, Sparkle approached him on our behalf, and he just said yes. So that's how I met him, with my hand out and then putting something in it. Basically, thank you for that.
You was in a parade, right?
Yeah, we used the banana and the banner in the 4th of July parade. My first one ever registering, and that was an interesting experience. But what about you two guys? How did you two meet? That's the major question.
Oh, am I answering?
Oh,
this
that's
one?
all you.
Both of you. You might have different versions of it. So.
Oh no, we know how we met, and trust me, it's the same. It is the exact same story, whether I tell it or he tells it. He's just a little bit more watered down than I am about it, because my mom used to run Panorama. And so a lot of the times for me to see my mom, I would have to go there in the evenings to see her, because by the time I got out of school, she was just going into work. And Howard just happened to be a porter and a pin chaser, and he worked underneath my mom. And the first time I met him, I hated his guts. He disliked me as much as I disliked him. And yeah, it's anyway.
She came from the burbs. I came from the streets. So you can imagine how those.
He thought I was privileged and stuck up, and I just thought he was cocky and he had so much swagger. He thought his what didn't stink, and I just had enough of that. So years later, he actually left the bowling alley, and probably like a year or two later, I was at the bowling alley seeing my mom, and he came in and he asked me to go to a block party with him, which I had never experienced a day in my life. And I gave it a go. I said, you know what? I said, people change. Let's go. And we never stopped seeing each other since.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I don't know what it is about that when people don't like each other or act as if they don't like one another, when secretly they sometimes do, because they have a lot in common, and that's what we don't like. We see some of ourselves in another person, and we don't. That's the psychology of it anyway. That's what they say. But this is beautiful. 24 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My goodness.
2 years dating and 22 married.
Well, we only dated for a year, then we were
engaged
for
yeah,
a year,
yeah.
and then we got married. And so, yeah, this will be our 22nd year. Our 22nd anniversary is coming up in August. So, and 2 kids, 20, they'll be 21 and 18 this year. So, yeah.
That was fast. 21 and 18. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we bought a house. We decided that before we got married, we had a choice between the money that we had, we could have a wedding or we could have a roof over our head. So, we decided to put the money into buying a home, and then we got married in our backyard. And so we bought the house in May. We were married in August, and I was pregnant in October because you got a big old house, 1,800 square foot house and 2 people. What are we gonna do in it? So we gave up our 20s so that now we're going to enjoy our 40s. So.
But what about pets?
Oh, we got Mac over here.
Yeah, we have a dog
just
now.
Mac.
Yeah, Big Mac over here.
Yeah.
But we've had our share of
cats, dogs, fish, lizards.
Oh God, we have run the gamut with our kids.
You name it.
Yeah, we've had a whole lot of fun with pets over the years, and I don't know how we managed them and the kids and the business and full-time jobs. I look back on it now and I'm like, I'm pretty sure we didn't sleep.
No.
Right.
Sleep. So, but that's okay. So,
do you have something?
Well, I actually wanted to ask a question about the business, but we do have some comments, and I wanted to, acknowledge these people who are talking to us now.
Okay.
So the first comment that I see is, let me scroll up, is from Gio Harvey.
Hey, Gio.
Says, 4 great people on this live.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Clapping emojis. And then you have, hi Gio. Then you have Heather. Hi, Heather.
I've known Heather for a long time.
Yes. She says Howard and Amanda are great! Exclamation point. And she has laughing. I think she was laughing at the time that you said that you guys hated each other, but then so she was laughing at that.
Question.
And then now we have a question from Hilda. She says, Hilda M. Jordan says, hi, Hilda. She says, how y'all know after a year?
It's one of those things where, it's hard to explain. It's not anything you can actually just say it's going to work for everyone.
Yeah, I don't know that you can articulate it into words. You just find your person. And I'm telling you what, it hasn't been easy, but we made a commitment to each other. Howard and I having any family, my parents divorcing when I was very young, we just made a cognitive effort to say that these were the things that we wanted for our own family. So if we were going to pave our way together, that we were going to make it work, no matter how bad it got or, how many trials and tribulations we had to go through, that we were going to be honest and open and, just get through it.
I actually, now that she said that, I kind of think back to a special moment when we were dating and stuff, and it was the first Christmas Eve. And I think that's where it clicked for me. It wasn't just her, but her stepfather's family, the Nitties, great family. They're all about family, all about paying it forward and just being open arms. And I went to a Christmas Eve dinner, and they just fed me like no other. I was locked.
My aunt had a good old saying: "If you can get to a man's heart through his belly," and they just figured out that he was always hungry, and that made them happy. But I think it's he had no family. I am so blessed. I really am. I have the best family ever. And they're always all so kind and warm and welcoming. And, we share and we fight, and, we're what a real family needs to be. And Howard being able to come in and see that, I think he married me, but my family had a lot to do with it too.
Very much so. I mean, okay, today's Sunday, right? So, 7:00 this goes on. And we just came from family dinner at her
we still
sister's
get together
house
for Sunday dinners.
And so normally we'd still be there having a good time, whatever. And we're like, we got to go. And they're like, what are you doing? They were
And
like,
they
"Oh, we gotta watch
laughed.
this."
They were laughing so
They want to
hard.
interview you. We gotta watch this.
Well, you actually saw that. Who was that? Your mother? I think she posted something that you were going to be on, and she was so proud of you. She posted on Facebook. That's her name,
Yeah.
Shirley?
Yeah.
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 She actually left a
I
comment. too.
And she left a comment. Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
I mean, I'll to Hilda's question though, he asked and I just knew. I knew that this was the person that brought out the best in me. I brought out the best in him. And sometimes we bring out the worst in each other, but I think it's a choice and an honest
Mhm.
moment.
Here's the thing. No one's ever perfect. So if you're walking into a relationship thinking, this is the perfect person, there's no such thing, right?
Mhm.
There's no perfect family. There's no perfect relationship. Are you willing to fight for it? That's what you got to ask yourself every day.
It's work. And I like, and
No,
it's not negative. I don't think it's not
No.
negative work. It's just, you have to be willing to get up and give it 110% every day. And if you're slipping, it's wonderful to have a spouse that can see that and support you, and vice versa. And I think that's one thing that no matter where our differences are, no matter how angry we are at each other, the common goal is always to get through it because we know we can.
I mean, the biggest thing too is where I'm weak, she's strong, and vice versa. So you build each other up.
Yeah, like this week when he walked into my office and he goes, "Can you do this with this spreadsheet, or am I going to have to make them lay everything out and then put it into the spreadsheet?" And I was like, "No, I can auto sort it. It's not a problem." He goes, "God love nerds," and I'm like, "Thank you so much, honey. Thank you so much."
That's a true story.
What is it that you do, Amanda? Because I want to get to your husband, but let's start with you. What is it that you do, if you don't mind saying it, or you could just be general with it?
No, it's okay. So
What don't you do?
my main duty, honestly, so I come from a banking and finance background. So my main thing is I have to manage all of the money, paying all the bills. I also, when I was at my other jobs, I had a lot of people underneath me. So I do all of our HR, all of our payroll, all of our sales tax. I have my own customer portfolio. I manage the front end of customer service. I do artwork.
Seamstress.
I taught everybody in our company how to sew. I was very fortunate to have my grandparents in my life for a very long time. And my grandmothers were really instrumental on teaching me basics. I learned how to sew, how to cook, how to clean. My mother was always there. She was always, a rock in my life. But my grandmothers were, especially my mother's mother, my father's mother, I love her dearly, but my mother's mother, I spent the most amount of time with her, and God love that woman. She was as crazy could be, but she had a heart of gold. So, I mean, I do what I need to do, but my main focuses are on the finances and, customer orders.
Handling all the book work.
Yeah.
Helping build pricing grids with me.
It's
building online stores.
Yeah.
Measuring people for uniforms. Help me build all that out.
Yeah.
Isn't the title CFO?
Yeah.
It's CFO, yeah. So that's a very serious title, Chief Financial Officer, something like that, right?
Yeah. Howard comes to me and he goes, "I need this." And I go, "No."
So you basically help him build up the family business. That's what you're at. Yeah. That's basically. And
That's the
so,
thing.
did you want to finish the comment?
Yes, I just wanted to mention that for those of us who don't know, for our listening audience, Amanda and Howard are proud owners of A&P Master Images.
Right.
My question is, Howard has the hat on. There you go. What does A&P stand for?
So it actually stands for Advancement and Promotional Items. And the reason where the A&P came from originally years ago.
It's advancements and promotions.
Yeah,
Okay.
Advancement and
So
promotion.
autocorrect.
I can't.
That's her nickname for me, autocorrect.
Autocorrect.
So basically, back in 2003 when we started the company, phone book was big, Facebook was just coming out.
Right.
We didn't have any money whatsoever, and the only way you could gain higher up in the phone book was to have something to start with the letter A. But then if you throw like an ampersand or number sign or something next to it, it jumps you up in the phone book. So I ended up going with the and symbol. But a lot of people think it has my wife's initials, my kids' initials, and
But it's not.
But it's actually not. We literally didn't have any money, and it was the easiest way to get marketing out of the phone book without paying, big money for it.
Yeah. And the master images was, well, what do we really want to do at the end of the day? When people come to us, what do they want? What do we want to be known for? And so the master images was us saying that if you come to us, we're going to master your image. We're going to make you look good. We're going to put you first. So the A and the P was to get us to the top of the phone book, and the master images was sending our message. So
that's just like our website address. It's masterimage.com.
Right.
That's what our job is.
So you kind of opened up the door for this next. It's not even gonna be a question. It's gonna be more like a question statement. Because I'm under the impression that you didn't have a nest egg of money to start this business. That you had to hustle and grind. So you want to talk about that for a hot minute? The hustle and grind part of it. I need to hear it too.
So my wife, again, we go back to we got married, and bought our house, got married in the backyard. A year later, started a business.
Angelina was born in June, and we filed the DBA in September.
Yeah. And
she was 3 months old.
Yeah, so I went to school at MV for design. I went to BOCES for design. Took advertising design at Proctor. Design was my passion. My wife always had an artistic background. She was talented in her own rights, highly intelligent. She was a manager, at the Bank of New York. I was pouring metal at Revere Copper and Brass, which was totally different from what I went to school for. But I always wanted to be able to, utilize and source what I went to school for. And I knew with her background and what she could do, it was just a perfect blend. And so we started the business, and literally $0. Basically we're both working extra, have our kid on the way, or kid.
No, Angelina was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the big thing about it is that the biggest thing that we did was, and I was always there, helping when he needed me. And we're a woman-owned business, but I had to juggle taking care of our kids and being a mother and, running the business with him. And we just poured every cent we possibly could into it. We took out personal loans. When we would get a good size order, Howard would go to the bank and take out a personal loan that didn't have a prepayment penalty at a higher interest rate. And, when we got the order done, we would go to the bank and pay it off and put the profit into, the checking account, to just get to that next order. And, God, he would work 13 days on, 1 day off, and he worked 11 to 7. So 11 at night till 7 in the morning. And I worked 9 to 5. So we, for 5 years, were two ships passing in the hallway. He would get up and go to work, and I would just be going to bed. And I mean, we would have like 1 day every 2 weeks Sunday together. Yeah, it was like a Sunday every 2 weeks that, we actually got to spend time as a family, because we had to take care of our daughter. And then we were crazy enough to decide that we wanted 2 kids 3 years apart, and we were blessed with our son. And so that just, we just kept going. But I think the grind's more, we really didn't sleep. Talking about it.
When you talk about business and starting, right? Like, the biggest thing I want people to understand is nothing worth fighting for is going to be easy, whether it's your relationship, whether it's moving up in a company, whether it's starting a business. And when you're starting a business, you have more to think about than just yourself. You have to build a foundation, with your, for your family, for the company. And that takes a good 3 to 5 years to get a foundation off the ground. And after that, you gotta continuously work it like a farm, not only to become successful, but to stay successful. A lot of people have this image in their head, because my wife and I have met some pretty successful people that are billionaires, like Marcus Lemonis, that's, the prophet. We had
Barbara Cochran.
Yeah, Barbara Cochran.
Mr. Wonderful
from Shark Tank. And the number one question that everybody always asks these people is, what's the shortcut to becoming a millionaire and being successful? There isn't one. It's called grinding it out, hustle. I don't care if you're a rap artist, a singer, just a general business person. You have to grind it out, and it's no different than a starving artist.
And realize that you're going to have bad days, and that they're going to pass. Like,
still to this day,
we still have bad days.
We're 21 years in business, and the beginning of this year, we had to deal with people passing away. We had to deal with people making financial mistakes within our company. We had to deal with just dumb things. I mean, stuff that you would think that wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Yeah, after 20 years, we wouldn't have these
Still deal with
problems,
them.
but they don't go away. I guess it's more about tenacity. How much do you want it, and how much are you willing to put into it? Because I really feel like, I always tell everybody, this is like our first child, even though we had our first child, then we started the business, but it's like growing another entity. And sometimes we get really frustrated because we'll actually say, well, we got to feed the beast.
Yeah.
Now we got to keep feeding it, because there's no fail. There's just no way to stop, to quit. You just have to keep going.
There's days we'll wake up and like, why are we doing this today? Just sell it. But now we're in a different dynamic, because here's the big thing. We have a 20-year-old daughter that manages our embroidery and our shipping and receiving department. And then we have our 17-year-old son that graduates from Proctor in June. And last year, they both came to us. And when they're a united front, it's scary, because they came to us. They came to us and they're like, listen, we don't want anyone but, they said, we want to work the business with you guys full time. And my question was, or I should say our question was, why? Because we don't hear about money. We don't hear about any of that stuff. It's superficial at the end of the day. They said, because we don't want anyone else but family owning and running the company.
Because it's a family business.
Yeah. So right there, I was like, all right. So now my son is coming in June full time, and he's been working the business. Yeah, every summer he works about 40 to 50 hours a week easily. And we don't make him. That's just what he likes to do. He comes in at 5 a.m. Our daughter, she works 50, 60 hours a week herself. And it's one of those things where they've seen it. They've grown up around it. They grew up around it inside of our home, outside of the home. They miss time with us because of the company, but now they're integrated with it, and they see and have an appreciation for what it is and what it's become.
That is beautiful.
That's beautiful.
I'll tell you though, to go back to the tenacity, there was a time where Howard got hurt at his full-time job, and workers' compensation back then only paid $400 a week, and he was bringing home much more than that every 2 weeks. And we racked up 20 grand in credit card debt, just keeping ourselves afloat. And then we worked to pay it off. We made a plan, we stuck to it, and did it. Oh God, it was awful and it sucked.
Picture bringing home.
But what are you going to do?
So I'm about to be 43 next month. Picture at the age of 25, way back when, gross or bringing home $1,000 to $1,200 a week, and only having $50 left over every week.
Yeah.
And that's out of my paycheck.
Yeah. I just want people to understand that if you're going to do it, but give it 110%, because if you don't, and that might mean you have to work a full-time job to keep a roof over your head, but the rest of your time, it's not scrolling Facebook. It's not flipping through TikTok. It's not instant success. It's hard work. That's why our people tell us all the time, you're so lucky. You're so lucky. The luck that we have is that we have each other and we have our family, but we're where we are because we were willing to work. And
there's a theme between both of you. You both are stressing work in the relationship and in the business, right? And I often say that work is what my mother used to call a 4-letter word, and it wasn't in a nice way. They would talk about curse words. Yep. So I have deemed work as a 4-letter word, just like lazy.
Yep. Oh yeah,
lazy might be winning, especially in today. Today the way things are going today. But I just wanted to add because we have to talk about the school board. And time is fine. Want to get to the school board. I just want to add, in addition to the work,
you trying to get me hurt after this interview.
Amanda's so funny.
Yeah. That I want to add on to what you guys were saying about how making the relationship work. It's also, I think, liking a person more than you dislike them, or having enough likes than you have dislikes, because we're gonna have some dislikes about. Mm-hmm. And in addition to the liking, is loving them more than you dislike, what it is. Because if you dislike that more than you love, then that's what the problem. I just wanted to point that out. But did you want to read some comments before?
Yes, I did want to read some comments. So Angela Carr says hello to us. just wants to let us know we're watching. Hi there, Angela. And then Shelly Miles, she reads, I love my son Howard and my daughter-in-law Amanda. They are made for each other.
I don't know about that.
And then the next one was from Gio. He says that's pretty dope how the name came about.
Yeah.
So did you have a question before I go into the school?
Oh no, yeah.
So the school board, I think I've been to a meeting or two with you there. Watched you, felt your passion, heard you speak. Read a couple things about you as far as I didn't even know that you was a writer now. You writing news?
Thank
That's
God for editors.
Excuse me?
Thank God for editors. No, basically what I write for is Graphics Pro magazine. It's a national magazine for our industry.
That makes sense.
So it helps educate people that are in our industry or looking to get in our industry.
Mm-hmm. So I think I'm going to ask the question. I think the answer is obvious, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What made you decide to have an interest in the school board?
So I never originally had an interest in the school board per se from the beginning. What happened was back in, during COVID times in 2020, my daughter had a medical condition that she was diagnosed with at the age of 3. And, she was about 2 years left from graduating high school. My son was a social butterfly. And so when COVID came about, as a parent, I'm asking questions and I'm not getting the answers that I'm kind of looking for that kind of made sense. So when the answers don't make sense, I start doing research. And, during that time period, I had reached out to a past UTA president, and then I reached out to people within the school district that were the administrators at the time. And I asked questions about what's going on. Are we going to open? And from both sides, I'm getting the same answer, which was kind of like pinning parents against the faculty. And so me being the person I am, I spoke up on social media. I said, listen, I don't agree with this. Because at that time, I thought I did my due diligence about learning from both sides of the court of knowing what was going on. And come to find out, I wasn't being told the truth from the original UTA, president or the administrators at the time. And I put my foot in my mouth. And so me being the man that I am, if I make a mistake, I make a mistake. I'll own it and move on. But I had faculty members and people reaching out to me saying, listen, you don't know the whole story. You don't know what's really going on. So once I was educated from the sidelines, I started doing heavy research. And at that time, I was already furious because I was made to look like a fool by people that are well educated, right? Had been working in the system for years. People I should be able to trust when I ask a question, get an honest answer, right? And once I went down the rabbit hole of finding out I was being lied to, my wife kept trying to pull me up by the collar like a bulldog, trying to get me out of it. And I just couldn't let go.
Well, do you ever, and I don't mean to interrupt, but do you ever say something and then it comes back years later? You forgot you said it, but you said it, and then it comes back and you're like, oh, I said that. I did. Yes. So Howard and I have lived in our home. This will be 22 years that we've lived in our house. And probably about 10 or 12 years in, we had some people that had moved in across the street, and there was a lot going on, and I was not happy with it. My kids were outside playing. There were things going on that I was not happy about. And my husband comes home and he goes, we're moving. That's it. We're moving. And I said, no. I said, this is where we put our roots down, and I will be damned if I let somebody else ruin my way of life. And Howard's a dog with a bone. If he smells something, he's going to go get it. And the problem with it became our children were directly being affected by the way that the district was running. And if he didn't step in, it was going to ruin our roots. Mm-hmm. So it was like one of those things where I wanted to write the words down and I wanted to eat them back up because they came back at me. Mm-hmm. And I mean, quite honestly, that him doing what he did put a huge stress on our relationship because I was trying to protect our kids and our business. And it wasn't that he was going out of his way to hurt anybody or anything. He was just trying to get people to understand that there was something else bigger going on that needed to be fixed. And if he had to be the martyr, if he had to carry that cross, that he was going to do it because nobody else could or wanted to or would. I don't know if that's the case, but we felt very alone for a very long time. And there were instrumental people that helped, but we took a lot of vitriol for a good,
picture
4 or 5 years.
Picture a school district in the sidelines talking to people privately that you do business with, telling them not to use you. Picture your son quietly getting threatened, right? And we didn't know this till well after everything happened, but there was a conversation with a football coach and the past superintendent, and it's recorded and it's been heard by a few people privately. That's how I know that the coach was called and told to bench my son from starting.
Or he'd lose his job. And that coach, years later, we didn't know it, but years later, he played Aiden regardless. And the coach lost his job, but we didn't know it. We didn't know at that time that happened. But I mean, that speaks volumes to, and that's the thing that Howard and I really want to stress. There are amazing educators within our school district. They have just been pushed down for so long that they don't know how to stand up for themselves anymore.
They don't have a voice.
They just don't,
Even as good as our newer superintendent and our past superintendent that we just had before her, before Dr. Davis, Brian Nolan, he was amazing as well. It's going to take a good 5-10 years for our school system to recover mentally from our educator side and emotionally. By then, all these kids will be out of the district, But the big thing was, I try to tell people, like, everyone, knows my background story of growing up in a house good shepherd, But I had amazing people within the house good shepherd that helped groom me to be who I am. I had amazing educators within Proctor and different parts of Donovan and BOCES and MV that grew me to be who I am today. So, I've always coming up the way I did, finally being an adult, not willing to back down from anything or anyone. And it's not a matter of being tough. It's a matter of, it's just the right thing to do, no matter what it costs me. I was investing 15, 20 hours a week, let alone my wife and I invested close to $10,000 over the past 4 or 5 years, running for the school board, knowing I was going to lose. And it wasn't because people didn't believe in me. The system was rigged from the get-go, or foiling for records or trying to help other parents and educators have a voice, going to the school board meetings. It's just the right thing to do. And it was a hard thing to actually accomplish. And I didn't think I was going to get anywhere. No one else thought I was going to really get anywhere because of how devastating the whole situation was. But now look at the climate we're in today.
Well, I think that you saying that you didn't get anywhere. So I'm going to ask, this is Reality Speaks, so I'm going to ask a question. You can answer it any way you want or just answer another question. You don't have to answer it. Right?
Oh, no, I'm not a politician. I don't deflect.
So the question is, and this is for me verifying because I heard this third party, so I'm going to ask the horse itself. It said that you were instrumental somehow, maybe it was a ripple effect of something that you said or investigated that brought Karen and the ex-mayor down here recently about this money they were skimming from the school board and using it for personal expenses.
The mayor didn't have anything to do with it.
No. The
Lapola was his name.
Lapola.
Oh,
He was a
the
past mayor.
ex-mayor. Okay, yeah.
Ex-mayor, Lapola, I mean.
Yeah. So basically, I was already a dog with a bone. I was researching things.
Or a bull in a china shop.
Yeah, I was a bull in a china shop. I had people educating me because let's face it, I understand business from trial and tribulation and that side. But, education is a totally different schematic of how the finances work and all those types of things. So I had people along the way, probably a good 50 to 60 people reaching out to me whether it was in person, privately, calling me, texting me, whatever, educating me.
The letters we would
Oh,
get,
I would read letters.
We would get non-return address letters that were typed out that we would not know where they were coming from. And it was people within the district literally giving us information.
Thanking me, thanking
where
us.
to go,
yeah.
how to look.
So basically, I was fighting all that. And then I got a message. I don't want to name drop the person, but they were on the school board at the time, and I got a message that they thought they saw something that didn't add up. So once I've got the information, I started doing FOIL requests on information that could kind of catch it from both sides. And that's when I FOILed for the stamps. And then first I FOILed for asking a question. Hey, have you guys ever invested in Lapola and envelopes, for his fundraiser? And they said no, instant. I mean, it wasn't seconds. Normally they make me wait 2-3 months for a FOIL to be
instant.
Yeah, exactly. And then charge me for it. And so they answered that quick. So then I was like, all right, stamps have to go on envelopes. So then I FOILed for stamps, and I had caught it just at the right time, because it was just before they were about to pay for it. They had issued a check for it, which showed the same timeline and around the same dollar amount it would take to cover close to 5,000 stamps. So once I gathered all that information, I talked to this person a little bit more. I talked to a few other people. I got copies of envelopes, photos of envelopes that they actually received. And then I had a private meeting with the DA's office in the county, and I handed not only that information over, but everything I found out over, the friends and family plan, people no-show jobs, all this other stuff that I had researched, not knowing what it would lead to. But I'm like, worst thing that happens is they say it's not worth anything, but at least I gave it to them. And so that one investigation, along with some other information and other people over time stepping up, that worked in the school district or retired from the school district and said they had enough, it started coming forth one by one. Because at the beginning, everyone thought it wasn't going to be fruitful. But one thing led to another, and now it's made it all the way to the state and higher ups, as you could see from the commentary from the school district saying they're working with all different types of law enforcement.
Yeah. And people you have something? I'm sorry.
Listening.
I was going to say, people may see the school board as one of those dynasties or empires, for lack of a better word, that you don't want to go up against. Like, they're too powerful, and I don't know if you was even instrumental, but I've heard for a long time their meetings was closed. Like, they just recently opened up the meetings to the public, from what I understand. And I don't know why, because the first time I went and the only time I went, Mr. Cameron was up there sleeping.
Oh, yeah.
In the public meeting. I'm like, no.
Oh, no. It was one step further. So they shut public meetings down for a few months during COVID, so used as it wasn't safe, right? And so I was fighting that along the way, got them to open it back up to the public. Once they opened it back up, they weren't letting us into the actual meeting. They had promoted that you could go, they locked you out of the meeting. You said you could watch it from the monitor in the hallway. So every step of the way, myself and others, that were there, we're fighting this every step of the way. We actually, I want to give, if you don't mind, I don't mind giving a plug to a gentleman, Mr. Nana, Braden Nana is actually running for school board. I had met this young man. He's a graduate of Proctor, and he's public spoken and called things out left and right just as much, if not more than I did before I did. After he graduated from high school, he ran before I did for school board. And this young gentleman had gone to Colgate now. He works in the county building, and he's running again this year. And, he's going to be a great addition if we can get him elected within our school board.
Repeat his name. Brandon what?
Braden Nana.
Braden Nana. Okay.
Yep.
How about you?
Yeah. So, Amanda, I wanted to know, as his wife, how did that make you feel that you used the word martyr, so to speak? So when I ran for city council, I learned that everybody here, or a lot of people here, are afraid of retaliation, afraid of speaking up and speaking out, breaking up the old boys club and all of that, things like that. Did you ever share any concern, or do you still even have any concern about retaliation or anything like that against your family or your business or your community?
I mean, I think that if you're honest with yourself, that's always something that's going to be there. It's whether you have the love and support of your family and the people that really know you. Howard has a great saying. He goes, there's a lot of times in our community, it's crabs in a bucket. And, you know, it's like you put everybody in a bucket and the one person that starts to climb themselves out, somebody else is at their feet trying to pull them back down into the bucket. You know what I mean? And yeah, I was petrified. I would spend hours arguing with Howard and crying and just throwing up my hands and walking away because, you know, we used to do a lot of business with the school district and then they just pulled all of their business. You know what I mean? Those
16 years of business,
Yeah.
and they just stopped because I spoke up.
I mean, yeah, it was awful, but he wasn't willing to back down. He just wasn't. And I had to eventually come to the realization that this is a man I married and this is what he's going to do whether I like it or not. And trust me, I didn't like it. But I knew he was doing the right thing. I knew his heart was in the right place. I think my frustration came in where I was kind of raised, God only helps those who help themselves. And I don't mean to be religious about it, but I was sitting there and I was saying, I go, why does it have to be us? Why do we have to take this on? These people, this is their livelihood. They know what's going on. Why are we the only ones that have to have this fight? Why? You know, and I think it's just honesty. You know what I mean? It's not that I didn't support him. It was the fact of all the other things I had to juggle. Why did we
have to make a sacrifice over others that were knee deep in it every day, knew more than we did, and worked within it, you know?
Yeah. So that it was frustration.
There's always someone doing that. You know, I Martin Luther King's, anybody that have made a sacrifice for the masses, you know, it may not be on the same level, but it's, you know, a sacrifice is a sacrifice. You know, you're losing money. You could be threatened. It could become physical. You never know. You know how far a person wants to go.
I had phone calls. I had phone calls. I had a gentleman that was the head of security trying to meet with me privately. And I said, sure, come right down to my business. I have a lot of cameras.
But to your point, Sparkle, I genuinely think that if we're honest about it, all of those things, they exist no matter where you are. You know, speaking up, standing up for what you believe in. And, you know, Howard's big thing was there are so many kids within our district that grew up just like he did. And there's no voice for those kids. And the worse it got at the district, he felt like he was abandoning his roots. He felt like he was abandoning the kid that he was. And that's what I had to realize was he wasn't letting that little kid go. And he was fighting for that because he had so many people in his life in the school district that were instrumental to him developing into the young man that he was. And so he felt like all of these things that were going on, it was just too much. And then COVID happened, and now you've taken these kids and you've put them in their homes. And some of these kids, their escape is school. You know what I mean? And now we've got COVID and we can't get them back into school. And you know, the teachers are dealing with their own struggles because they've got their kids in school. And it just, I don't know.
It was a perfect storm.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing we need to realize as parents and as a community that everything that we want our community to be starts with our kids in our school system. And that's the one thing that I realized. When you look at our school district, it's triple the budget that of our cities, right? It's 50% the size of the budget of our county, which handles 250,000 people. So I knew if I was going to make the biggest effect and biggest impact, it was going to be starting with this school district. So, you know, and it was the right thing to do. It was a very tough mental road. And I can't thank all the people that reached out to me in private enough. Even in private, you know, sometimes it was tough. And I'm like, well, why don't you speak up? And they're like, well, if I do, my husband or wife is going to be affected, or so-and-so is going to lose their job.
That's what we heard all the time.
It was nonstop.
We would say to them, fight with us. And they're like, but our livelihoods are on the line. And our response was,
so was ours.
You know, I mean, so is ours, but you know, you're either going to do it or you're not. And we don't hold a grudge, and you know, it is what it is. And it all worked out.
My only ask from our community at this point is, and you see me posting on my public forum and all that, my page,
keep it going.
Keep and staying informed. Don't let it ever go backwards. These are our kids. This is our community.
This is our city.
Literally, like, I can move anywhere. I could take our company, my wife and I, and we can move anywhere. But we love where we live. We love our community. We love the diversity of our community, the ethnic backgrounds, the food, the music. I want to see all that as a giant melting pot where we all grow each other.
Yeah, because we had a choice. You know, when we decided to buy the house where we did, we had a choice. And both of us being, you know, graduates of Proctor, we chose to stay here. We've had people ask us constantly, "Oh, where do you live? New Hartford, Whitesboro?" I'm like, "Nope, block from Proctor," you know, in East Utica. And they're like, "Really?" And we're like, "Yeah," because you know what? I came, so it's kind of funny because I will say I was privileged. My parents sent me to Catholic school until 6th grade. And then my parents couldn't afford to send me to Notre Dame. And so I ended up in Donovan. And for somebody going from a private Catholic school to a very diverse public school, that was a lot for me. I was sheltered, you know what I mean? But when I was old enough to have my own kids, I saw the value in the diversity and, you know, the things that I would have never experienced socially, economically, so many different things that make our kids in this district so much more well-rounded. You know, things are just better.
Kids in our district can go anywhere and survive and thrive. They're built with fortitude, knowledge, background that no one else is ever going to be privileged to. And we don't look at it as such. You know what we do? We go on the radio during that era when we talk about 2020 and beyond, and we say, "Oh, these kids are poor. They speak different languages. They're held back." No, that's a gift, because those kids that don't speak English work triple time to be in the top 10%. And I know that because when my daughter graduated in the top 10%, she was one of the few kids you could understand the last name to. And I'm not saying it's funny, but these kids busted their butt, and then we're gonna go on the radio and downplay them, or we're gonna use the fact because we're poor, we're not smart, and we can't learn. And I don't subscribe to that.
So, you know what? We needed probably a show just to talk about the school board, because I know your passion is there, but I can't let you go without asking you this question, Howard.
Yeah.
Because you've mentioned it a couple times, and I think you can't tell this story without telling a little bit about you, because twice you've mentioned that you was in the House of Good Shepherd and where you came from.
Yeah.
Which means, you know, and so when I hear that, I'm saying, well, wait a minute, here's a person that came up through a foster system or was in the House of Good Shepherd, and yet you're a successful married man, successful businessman, you're intelligent, so you don't fit the images or this vision that we have of someone that comes through that upbringing, because we think everybody's going to end up in the prison pipeline or in the streets, drug addict or whatever. So do you would like to just talk about that for a few minutes, please?
Yeah, I mean, my mother and my stepfather, they raised me when I was younger. They ended up getting divorced. I had a hard time dealing with that. My mother started dating another gentleman at the time. I was having a hard time dealing with all of that. They had their relationship thing going on, and it just didn't work for me. Right. It wasn't a good setting. It wasn't a good environment. And this isn't to put my mother down. My mother knows, I love her. And, we 8-9 years ago, we started talking again, and, we see each other from time to time throughout the year. I'm busy, working as many hours as I do. But I did end up in the system. And so I was in, group emergency that was over in Cornhill off of, I think it was Eagle and Hobart, somewhere around over there by Loretto. And so I was in group homes and Broad Acres. I went to foster care for a few months. That didn't work out too well. So I went back to the group homes. So I was in the House of Good Shepherd from the age of 11 till I was 18. And by the age 16, and it's funny that we're talking about this because the other day I was over having dinner and I had seen a gentleman, Tim Williams, which was one of the workers that actually one of the few workers that really snapped me out of at the age of 16, saying, "Listen, you got 2 years left. You're gonna be on the streets. What are you gonna do?" And it wasn't that I wasn't doing good in school, but like I had a chip on my shoulder. I had anger management issues. You know, I was boxing at the time at St. Francis with Tim Green and them. And I just didn't know what I wanted out of life. And I was just angry all the time. And so I directed my anger to take a negative to turn it into a positive. So I just kept working and saving up money, got out of the house Good Shepherd, had the great fortune of meeting my wife. And the biggest thing I try to teach people every day, and I preach this all the time, is take a negative and turn it into a positive, right? We talk about business, relationships. All right, you had a crappy day. What are you going to do about it? You know, we always hear about anxiety and stress, and this isn't to downplay people or their trials and tribulations, but what are you going to do to make it better? You know, if someone's doubting you, okay, they doubted you. Who cares? Do they live with you? What are you going to do to make it better? So every step of the way, I've just learned, you know, through my mistakes, whether it was my relationship with my wife, business mistakes, just learn to take those negatives and turn them into positives. And, you know, I was very fortunate with the gentleman that's now running the House Good Shepherd. And I had my certification done or background check done to where I actually go in whenever I choose to go work with the kids at the House Good Shepherd.
Okay, good. That's great, man. I can talk
all day about it.
It's important that people hear this part of the story because, even today, the prices of everything is going up. People are having financial struggles, and even sometimes, even though it's a together thing, you're both hungry, you both probably can't. But we start taking our frustrations out on each other, and we have to be careful moving forward. But from a personal perspective, I'm still trying to become business minded. We're still contemplating. We're still, looking for a way. And you've said some good things, especially the 110%. That's just ringing in my head. Like if you ain't ready to go all the way and give it all, then don't even play with it, right?
Well, not to mention
that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, but you know what the other thing about it is? It was something that I struggled with a ton. Was I was always so scared to make a mistake. And Howard was the type, he's always been this type of person. He goes, well, if you don't try, then you can't complain because you didn't, how do you know? Right. And he's like, as long as you can pay for your mistakes, they're yours to make. And as long as you learn from them, that's what's going to set you apart. So I think a lot of people, they become disabled because of the fear of failure. But you have to be willing to fail. It's going to happen. You're not going to get it right all the time. We don't get it right all the time. After 21 years, we still fail. It's if you learn from it. And you know what? The other thing for us too is we don't forget where we came from and how it started. Like we were just talking to my nephew the other night. When we bought our house, we didn't realize that we weren't going to have a refrigerator because they said the appliances were included. And we lived out of a blue igloo cooler with bags of ice from Nice and Easy for 3 months until we could figure out how to buy a refrigerator. We will still come home on a Wednesday night and he'll be like, what do you want for dinner? And I'm like, peanut butter and jelly. You know what I mean?
Or some ramen noodle with egg and cheese.
Ramen, egg, and cheese. But we don't look at those things. It's a hot meal. It filled my belly. And it got me through some really crappy times. So just because, we're the type of people, we don't ever feel like we've made it. We just feel like we pay our bills.
I'll be honest with you. People come into the shop and they're like, and they've known us forever. We still have a lot of customers, like Leon Etienne.
Yeah.
That does
Magic Wraps.
Magic Wraps. Like, he was a customer, we all went to school together. He was a customer when the business started out of our bedroom. That's now our bedroom. And we all laugh and joke about it because it's like we're not supposed to be where we're at today because the cards say this isn't supposed to happen in real life. And we think because we come from a small city that isn't New York City or Los Angeles or Chicago that you have to be in one of those big cities to make something of yourself. No, it's called tenacity, consistency, and not being afraid to make a mistake and learn from it, because the only mistake you should be afraid of is the one you didn't learn from. Right. And that's what it comes down to at the end of the day.
But it also goes back to the other big point is what Sparkle said when she started about her book about wealth. People need to understand that sometimes wealth, most of the time, quite honestly, money's nice. But do you have a roof over your head? Do you have a family that loves you? Do you have your health? Do you have, people that bring you up, right? That's real wealth, because at the end of the day, everything that we've built could be gone tomorrow, right? But we have our children and our health and our family, and they make a big difference.
Yes.
That's your foundation.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and we got each other until he tests my patience again. That's gonna happen.
I'm notorious.
Yeah.
So could you believe we already made an hour?
Yeah.
And
That's it. That's all we did.
We talk. We're talking.
Yeah. And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But I have one last question for you too. What advice would you offer young couples? And what I mean by young couples, not in age, but couples like Kamal and I, who are going on 3 years this June, in comparison to your 20 plus, that's 2 decades. What advice would you offer young couples who are thinking about throwing in the towel?
I already know the answer. Go ahead.
Fight it out. Don't go to bed angry. It really does. You want to go to bed angry, but you get up in the morning and you give 110% to your relationship the next day. I tell my kids this all the time, especially my daughter. I'm like, you know what? You need to sew some extra elastic in your big girl panties and get over it. Honestly, you can communicate with each other, and sometimes it might not come out right, but we are always 110% honest with each other. If he does something I don't like, I do something he doesn't like, we're going to talk about it. And if that means we're going to fight our daughter, if that means we're going to fight about it, guess what? We're going to fight about it. And we have times at the office.
It could be at the office. The staff is like, mom and dad's fighting, and they just leave. They go to the other side of the building.
Honestly,
because we're passionate about what we do.
Respect each other as much as you possibly can, but be honest and open and be willing to talk about it. And, those people that say, oh, we don't fight, we have a perfect relationship, they're lying. They are lying their teeth out, because get up and want it. If one of the two of you get up and one of the two of you doesn't want it anymore, and you're honest about the fact that you don't want it anymore, then that's a conversation to have. But you both have to put the time and the work and the effort in equally. And sometimes I'm 80% holding us up, right? And he's pushing his 20%, but we're both pot committed. It's just, you learn to be each other's. Sometimes I bring him down and sometimes he brings me down, but recognizing each other's strengths and weaknesses. And when I'm having a really bad day, like 2 weeks ago on a Wednesday, I was like, I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want to hear nothing. I don't know why we do this. And he's like, it's one bad day. It'll be okay.
Then next day it was me.
And then the next day it was him doing it, right? But you balance each other.
And that's
out.
Facts. That's just
we just balance each other out.
The biggest thing people have to realize, right? Like, there's two sides to everyone, right? Like, you got to take the good with the bad. So the point that what I'm trying to make is, where she may be strong or weak, we complement one another. I don't try to make her be me per se at everything I'm good at. There's things that she's good at I'll never be good at. I'm okay with that. That's what makes us stronger. That's what makes us smarter and builds the fortitude for what we do every day. But at the same time, what do? I wake up in the morning. I'm up before she is. She gets a little bit more sleep, because she stays up later. I go to sleep earlier. I make sure she has coffee in the morning. I make sure her shower's on nice and warm. So
I'm a little spoiled.
So when she gets up, this isn't me patting myself on the back. I just know it starts her day out. I don't need that. Right. But she needs it. It makes her day better.
Sometimes the best love language is acts of service for each other. It's doing that one little thing, the most stupid, antiquated, ridiculous thing in the morning that makes it better. So I'll give you a great example.
Valentine's Day should be every day, not one day a year.
But I'll give you. But you know what? I'll tell you how absolutely small it can be. So when the kids were growing up and I used to have to get them to school, but he needed to get into the office early, he would get up and he would take a shower. And I don't know why we do this, but we brush our teeth in the shower. It just makes sense. Clean and rest yourself, brush your teeth, right? So Howard would make sure that when he put toothpaste on his toothbrush, he did mine. So when I got into the shower every morning, my toothbrush was already ready to go. And something that simple told me that even though he was getting up and getting ready for his day, that he was still thinking about me, right? And he's better at this than I am. I most of the time because I am spoiled. But you know what I mean? It's those things that make it work at the end of the day. You know, it just, and it's funny because people laugh at us when we did our vow renewal for our 20th wedding anniversary. We danced to our wedding song. And if you get a chance, it's a Celine Dion song, and she is, I think it's Antonio Pavarotti. They sing a song, and the title of the song is "I Hate You, Then I Love You," and that is what we did. If you get a chance, listen to the song, because it goes back to what you were saying. The good's got to outweigh the bad. But I always say some of the greatest loves come from the greatest hates. And we're honest with each other and say, you know what, right? I don't like you right now.
What's our rule?
What?
When you're angry with somebody, but they are sad, what do?
I don't know.
You always tell me, like, if you're really angry at your father, you're really angry at your mother, or your like significant other, if they're like really down and they just need you and they need a hug, you always remind them that you love them.
Correct.
And you give them a hug, and then you deal with it later.
Right.
So, guys, I just want to thank you, first of all, for your time, for your openness and honesty. You're actually going to have me processing quite a few things from this. I just have one quick question, and I'm going to try to close out for you, Howard. Did you know how to silk screen? I guess it might be two questions. Are you a silk screening yourself?
So yes, so basically how that came about was when we started a business out of our house, we did sublimation, embroidery, a bunch of other processes. When we moved the company, when I went to MV, I learned the basics of silk screening, but the problem was it was so many years afterwards when I decided to add that process to our company, going back to Mr. Dwayne Eisenberg, the legend. I actually reached out to him because I used to go in and speak back then to the kids going to college. And I said, you know, Mr. Eisenberg, I said, I need your help. I said, I have to pay you, but I need you to come in and teach me everything that I've forgotten about silk screen, because I can only remember the basics. So he came in for an entire week, and within 5 days got me back up to speed, remembering everything he taught me. And from there, not only did I learn what I had already known, I had advanced the screen printing technique, and then I had helped him write a second course outline to help educate the kids take screen printing further.
Wow.
And what's really cool about Mr. Eisenberg is he still, even though he's retired, he still comes in and sees us once every couple of months to check on us, see what new things we're doing. He was at our vow renewal.
Yeah.
He came to the church, and, you know, he was there. He was
at my award ceremony recently too.
Yeah, he's still a big part of our life,
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When did he retire?
Didn't he?
Yeah, he's retired.
I don't know when he retired.
It was about, I want to say at least 3 years ago he retired.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, he's still in our lives. He still comes around and sees us, and we love to see him. Because I mean, we wouldn't be where we are today if he didn't come in and be willing to teach us what he knew. So
That's right. He taught us all about you all too. I just wanted to give a shout out to the beautiful lady who offers some wonderful advice on how to manage your emotions. What is your name? Your daughter?
Oh, Angelina.
Hello.
Hi, Angelina. See, this is the beautiful. I just wanted to take the time to give the shout out. This is the beautiful production of such a union of the power couple. And I put the website to A&P Master Images. If anyone was interested, they can go to masteryourimage.com.
Yeah.
And that's all I have.
And you forgot to mention the power couple aspect. What we've been doing is trying to attract power couples to our collaboration. And what we mean by power is not just the statue, but more the work. And you kept stressing that, the work that it takes to cope with relating to another human being, living with another human being, you know, sharing so much time together, and trying to cope with even being separate, because it's the separation anxiety as well, if your relationship is such. But so you are definitely a power company. Hearing your story and the struggles and starting from nothing, yes. You're definitely a power couple, man. Thank you for gracing us with your time.
And thank you to our listening audience.
Yeah, definitely the audience. We have some participants. We try to keep it with the hour. We go over, but we find that an hour is pretty much,
Yeah.
a lot for a person to watch.
Yeah.
I will be making some clips, God willing. Look for the clips, 2 or 3 minutes, certain parts, and I'll share them with you guys to make it easier for the listener audience. Any last minute thoughts, guys?
Listen, and my biggest thing I want people to understand is, you know, don't be afraid to fight. You know, fighting doesn't mean always these. It means with your heart and with your mind.
Right.
Yeah. And thank you for having us. This was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed it. So thank you for the opportunity as well.
No doubt. It's definitely our pleasure. You know, and what we find is as every couple that we interview, we felt like we've established a relationship with them as well. So I hope you feel that way as well.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, maybe we have coffee one day or something. So with that, we're real people, right?
Real talk.
In real time, man. Until the next time, we'll be in touch.
Thank
you guys.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.